Altogether, Martingale seemed dreary enough, and the ghost stories we had laughed at while sunshine flooded the room became less unreal, when we had nothing but blazing fires and wax candles to dispel the gloom. They became more real also when servant after servant left us to seek situations elsewhere, when noises grew frequent in the house, when we ourselves, Claire and I, with our own ears, heard the tramp, the banging, and the chattering which had been described to us. My dear reader, you doubtless are free from superstitious fancies. You pooh-pooh the existence of ghosts and only wish you could find a haunted house in which to spend a night, which is all very brave and praiseworthy. But wait till you are left in a dreary, desolate old country mansion filled with the most unaccountable sounds, without a servant, with none save an old caretaker and his wife, who living at the extremest end of the building heard nothing of the tramp, bang bang, going on at all hours of the night. A Strange Christmas Game by J.H. Riddell. It's the most spookiest time of the year. No, not Halloween, but definitely Christmas. As we mentioned in our last Christmas episode a year ago, Christmas was a time where we all sat around by the fire and clutched our mugs filled with hot cocoa or eggnog as we intently listened with fear to the creepy ghost stories that used to be shared throughout this amazing holiday. So on this episode, Bryce and I go over the 5 forgotten yet famous Christmas ghost tales. Stick around if you dare for my sit-down interview with Hollywood Exhumed's Maria Wessenaur as we have an interview from the Andres Pico Adobe Museum. You definitely don't want to miss out on the history and the ghost stories attached to one of the most oldest adobes in Los Angeles, located right in Mission Hills, California. And trust me, some of those tales might want to make you sleep with more than one nightlight on. Andy Williams once sang it so well. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long ago. Let's celebrate Christmas, Hollyweird style. All right. Hey, boo. Hey, guys.
Hi.
So Bryce and I wanted to make a little episode before I head out to NOLA and before he goes into major hibernation mode, right?
Yes. I mean, I'm not old enough to be a bear, but here we are.
You have a beard, so you are
That's
considered
true.
a bear in the gay community, right?
I don't know how that works, to be honest. I think I'm too young, so maybe I'm a bear cub.
That's right.
Tweet us now and tell me what I am.
You're like, cub for sure, cub.
Yes. Oh, God.
Well, we wanted to share a few famous Christmas ghost stories that I'm sure not many of you know about. And if you do, then you're star level creepy as fuck, okay?
Yes.
And of course, as we discussed in our last Christmas episode last year, we remember the most famous one, The Muppets Christmas Carol.
That's the only one that counts. I'm sorry, I will die on that sword.
Actually, it's The Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, which was written in December of 1843.
Yes.
And so many renditions of it and different versions of it have been played out on theaters and on sound stages.
On Muppets.
There's
a new series out on Hulu right now.
On FX.
It looks so dark.
Just got done watching it.
You did? Can you just tell me about it so I don't have to watch it? Because it looks too scary.
It's very dark.
Yeah.
It's gritty. it's FX style.
I love it.
It's the costumes, of course,
Coral.
amazing.
Yes, I bet.
I love their versions of the three, Christmas ghosts, the ghosts of present, past, and future. And the story, they really dive deep into the Jacob Marley, how he becomes a ghost, how he transitioned into a ghost. They take a little bit of deeper dives into the grittiness of that time period.
Yeah. Yeah, not a great time.
Not a great time at all.
I love that meme. It's like the Christmas story or the Christmas Carol is basically showing that rich people can be generous. You just have to scare them within an inch of their life first. And I feel that really speaks to me.
Scare them so they could drop some paper and coin on your way.
Yeah.
Ghosts scare rich people.
I have some ghosts that I need to send out. Political.
I have some ghosts that I need to send out and also some money that I need to keep. There
yes.
you go.
Oof, real.
Well, according to Colin Fleming of the Paris Review, he writes that there are 5 scary Christmas tales. They'll make reading these stories like drinking too much eggnog be enough to have you cancel Christmas next year. If only if it wasn't so much fun to get messed up on the eggnog, if you know what I mean.
I do.
And then, of course, we're going to talk about a little something. We have a little Christmas treat for you guys. We have a 30-minute interview with historian and I would say Hollywood Exhumed head bae, Maria Wessenaur. If you're not following Hollywood Exhumed on Instagram and Facebook, then you're definitely missing out. She pretty much does a walking tour of LA's most famous historical sites.
Amazing.
So definitely follow her, guys. Now, not only is she the brainchild behind Hollywood Exhumed, but she's also the vice president of the San Fernando Historical Society. And she invited me over to the Andres Pico Adobe.
So cool.
Well, she invited both of us, but Bryce, of course, per usual.
Yes, please. If you are looking to get me a Christmas gift, I am a size clone. I need a clone immediely.
But per usual, you working and you do get a little scared. So
that both are facts.
But we were able to do an interview inside this famous museum, which is this LA's second oldest adobe.
Amazing.
And of course, it's pretty haunted.
Sure.
Maria researches and leads the tours of the Andres Pico Adobe Museum, and she has quite a few ghost stories to share from her personal experiences by leading the tours. And also she has proof, documentation of a former owner that owned the adobe that had recorded the hauntings that he experienced.
Damn.
It's such an interesting interview, guys. It has history, it has mystery, and it definitely has ghost stories. And she's such an awesome person, so you definitely want to tune in to that. Also, stay tuned, I think within a week, because Bridget Moorcourt of Ghost Magnet interviewed us, guys, a couple of weeks ago. Oh my God,
the pictures are so... if anyone doubts that I'm a full-on scaredy cat, just wait till you see these photos.
They'll be leaking out pretty soon, but her producers are so awesome.
In person, I was like, yeah, I really am the biggest chicken I've ever met. It's so embarrassing.
It's
so bad.
It took Bridget Moorcourt, a former Playboy bunny, to get Bryce to do a ghost.
They're like, please come into the frame. Like, no, thank you. I'm good over here. I was literally, I was standing like next to the exit.
It was hilarious.
And they're like, can you please come sit at the table? I was like, no. Thank you. I cannot. I'll be right here. Thank you.
It was hilarious. We're like, where's Bryce? And then I hear this voice and I see this like exit sign above him, like lit in red. And you're like, I'm over here.
Yeah. I'm like, no. Thank you. In my light defense, I was there to turn the lights off and on, but also, yes.
We were so like in awe with this whole interview, guys. She's so sweet and so amazing. So, nice. So she comes to my job, Bryce's former job, to interview us and then to talk about our haunted job and also to do a ghost hunt at our haunted job.
Yes,
so it was really, really cool. They also did a video of that. I'll be posting all those amazing footage and, of course, recordings very, very soon.
Yes.
Because you definitely want to see Bryce's, I'm spooked face.
Yes. That way you have an image for how I look every time we record this podcast.
Exactly. We have it documented. Ugh. All right, guys. So let's head on over to these 5 creepy Christmas ghost tales, shall we? Now, you all remember A Christmas Carol, but there are these 5 that you have to read over the Christmas break if you want to get a little creeped out. So the first one we're going to touch on is Between the Lights, and that was written by E.F. Benson. So this was written in 1912. Now, this tale is set on Christmas Eve and looks back on the one the year before, when our host had a vision of primal, shack-entombed beasts advancing upon him as he sat out on the lawn and watched his wife and a good friend play croquet. Now the creatures advance, paralysis has set in, and it is by a Christmas mercy that the hold is relinquished. Yes, on a Nomitoka scale of 1 to 10, I give it an 8.5 on this story. The second one is The Kit Bag. Now, this is a really good one for true crime enthusiasts, and if you like a little bit of murder and gore. So this one was written by...
I assume you do, because you're listening to this podcast.
Exactly.
So...
You like a little blood and gore with your Christmas? Well, here it goes. So Algernon Blackwood wrote this story in 1908. In this story, a law clerk whose boss just cleared a murderer is packing what he believes to be the travel bag said employer has lent him. But the holidays can be very misleading, and one man's toomy luggage can be another's sack to lug around a possibly severed body part in.
Ew.
Yeah. Again, there's that notion of warmth, of looking forward to things like our homeboy wishes to chat up some ladies back in the lodge on his ski holiday, and affability sets in, of course. Now, on a Nomitoka scale of 1 to 10, I give this one a 9. I read it. It's really creepy.
Oof.
Really, really creepy.
No.
So this other one is called Christmas Reunion, and it's spelled R-E-Union by Sir Andrew Caldecott. This one was also written in 1912. So this one comes from a volume called Not Exactly Ghosts, an apt summation of Caldecott's approach. Now, the things in his story could kind of happen on their own. Again, we begin with a family holiday party.
Always.
But there's a guest who's a bit of a dick.
Also always.
Always. Everyone is pleased when he leaves, and wouldn't you know it, he heads out at the same time as a Santa Claus, or rather the Santa the family thinks it hired to put on an act for the kiddies. Now, the prickish guest, we learn, did his uncle a bad turn once upon a time, and his Father Christmas knows about it. Worse still, he's an avenging Father Christmas. So Santa is the ghost in the story, maybe or maybe not, because Santa could just be one pissed off kin. So you get the riddle if you read it for yourself. On a Nomitoka scale of 1 to 10, I give it an 8.5 Nomitokas. Okay. This one is a little cray. It's called Smee, and it's by A.M. Barrage, and this one was written in 1931. So this one is about people at a Christmas party playing a form of hide-and-go-seek.
Oh, God, I already hate it. No, thank you.
In which the seeker advances upon the hider and says, "It's me," which uttered quickly and breathlessly enough becomes Smee. So it's Christmas Eve. There is this big old rambling in this house, but one tiny problem. There's an extra player who does not number among the guests.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah. A sort of moral, downing the eggnog and playing hide and seek can make you want to pull a Scrooge.
Yikes.
It is a very creepy tale, and on a Nomitoka scale of 1 to 10, I give it a no me freaking tokes 10.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a really creepy tale. So my personal favorite, this one I just read a couple of weeks ago. This one is called A Strange Christmas Game, and it's by J.H. Riddell, and it was written in 1863. So even spook story enthusiasts tend not to know about a good amount of Victorian ghost fiction. But you know what? Victorian ghost fiction was actually written by a lot of women back then.
Yes.
So maybe the majority of it was definitely written by Mrs. J.H. Riddell, who was one of the best ghost story writers of her time, period. And
yes, queen.
she was, definitely hashtag had H.B.I.C in charge when it comes to the ghost stories, all right? Now, in A Strange Christmas Game, we have that idea of play again, only now it is the ghosts who are playing their hands at the sport. A brother and sister inherit a gloomy old estate in Bedfordshire.
As you do.
Family history here is not a long one, except for the fact that former owners of the estate, Jeremy Lester, went missing on Christmas Eve and was never found for 41 years until John and Claire stay at the Dark Castle on Christmas Eve. And do you like to visit haunted chambers? Well, this one is definitely going to give you a sample of that. It's a 30-minute read for an old-fashioned Christmas Eve tale. So there's murder, there's ghosts, there's true crime.
As you do.
Yes, so I highly recommend that you guys read this. I read it. It's a good read. It did take me 30 minutes, and it's a great short story.
I love that.
And that's so cool that J.H. Riddell was, the head guy who wrote a majority of these like Victorian ghost tales.
Yes, come on, first wave feminism.
I know. On a Nomis Dulcus scale of 1 to 10, this one definitely reached 10 for me. Yes, this is a really good tale, guys.
Yes.
Now we head into our interview with Maria Wessenaur from the Andres Pico Adobe. Hey guys, welcome to Hollyweird Paranormal. And unfortunately, I don't have Bryce Mitchell-Williams here, but we do have a really, really awesome treat. We have Maria Wessenaur. Did I pronounce it right?
Wessenaur.
And Maria is now one of my new friends. And she is awesome. And she is also the brainchild behind Hollywood Exhumed on Instagram and Facebook. If you guys are not following Hollywood Exhumed, then you're definitely missing out. So Hollywood Exhumed, in short, is pretty much a walking history tour around Los Angeles, California for that matter, right?
Yes, most definitely.
So if you follow her through Hollywood Exhumed, you'll get to see like really awesome historical sites and locations in and around Los Angeles, and she documents them. And not only does she document them, but she's also a major historian. So Maria, you want to tell everyone what you do?
Well, first of all, hey boo hey.
There you go. Yes.
I am the vice president of the San Fernando Valley Historical Society and a historian.
Yes.
The San Fernando Valley Historical Society are caretakers of the Andres Pico Adobe in Mission Hills, California, and we are the second oldest home in Los Angeles.
Yeah, we are currently recording out of the home, guys. We're inside the Adobe Museum, and we're in one of my favorite rooms, of course, the costume or wardrobe room. And we're surrounded by these amazing pieces of garments that date back as all the way back to the 19th century, right?
For sure. We have just behind you, there's a really old trunk that's just filled with underwear from like the 1880s.
Oh, you said really old trunk, and here's Craig Owens behind me. So if you hear clicking in the background, that is our friend, the one and only Craig Owens, who is also the brainchild behind Bizarre Los Angeles and the author of Haunted by History, Volume 1. So real quickly, what we're going to do is talk about the history of the Adobe Museum, and what better person to tell us the history, of course, is Maria, because she's the hoss in that. And it's a rich history, and it dates back to the mid-1800s, right?
So the Adobe itself was built in 1834 by the ex-mission Indians, or so we believe. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of a controversy about that right now.
Right.
But it was built with the mission that is basically just across the street from us. And it was used for lack of better words, a tool shed, we'll call it.
Oh.
Later on, it was given to Andres Pico, who was a general and brother to Pio Pico, who was the governor of California. And he gave it to his son Rumolo and his wife Catalina as a wedding gift.
Oh, wow.
So they lived here through...
we just got rice for my wedding, so that was it. That was just my husband and I are starving artists. Just kidding. No, just kidding.
And so at that time, it was a lot smaller than what you're getting now.
Mm-hmm.
It was just basically the sala, the living room,
right?
And later on, the area that's now our library was built on, and some fireplaces were put in the garage. So it looked a lot different then. Also, it was rancho style at that time, obviously. And Catalina, I guess, was very fashion forward and wanted to come in and redecorate.
As she should.
As she should have.
Of course. This was like her personal large shed.
It was her she shed. She could have had an HGTV show.
True. Catalina Styles.
And so she decorated it to what was on trend then, which was Victorian.
Nice.
And some wood floors were laid upon the existing floor right now. And so that's kind of what we've recreated. Nothing is original to the house. Everything that we have in the house right now are donations.
Yes, you guys receive a ton of donations, and it's beautiful because it really like adds so much to the allure of the house. Kind of gives you an example of and a feel for, you know, how people decorated and how they lived. And
sure,
I would say like it's not one specific decade that
it really isn't, and that kind of upsets me a little bit because for a little while, we had a mid-century modern coffee table, and it was, although I really wanted to take it home for my own living room,
right?
It just didn't feel right. And so, yeah, we have a Vitrola and a player piano and a couple of things that, you know, everything's kind of a different time, but, you know, it gives you that, you know, kind of vintagey feel. The other thing that we have a lot of are religious artifacts that were, I don't know if we salvaged or what exactly you would call it, but when the Pope made a visit to Los Angeles in the 80s, the San Fernando Mission kind of decided to redecorate and got rid of all their religious artifacts / tchotchkes that had a little nicker chip, and we just took them all. They had a little bit of a like yard sale, and then we just went and gathered them all, and so you can see them throughout the adobe. So it kind of sets that kind of mission-y feel to it.
It certainly does, and I had no idea that this museum existed. It's quite sequestered here in Mission Hills. Tell everyone where it's currently located.
It's actually, if you know the San Fernando Valley, you would probably know the Bear Pit, which is a very, very, very famous barbecue restaurant.
I haven't heard of the Bear Pit.
And we're right across from the Bear Pit. But yeah, we're just off of Sepulveda, you know, basically just across from the San Fernando Mission. But we're kind of tucked away. So if you make that turn onto Brand, you better turn on that blinker quick because you're going to turn right into our lot.
I made that mistake a couple of days ago on my way here for the first time. But yeah, it's pretty sequestered here, tuckered away in this area. But I guess let's go into the stories of what else this mission also carries. So there's a lot of talk that it has a paranormal association to the history.
Well, I wouldn't be here otherwise.
Of course. Let's get spooky, please.
Very spooky.
Very spooky. I'm claiming that one of the reasons why it does have some paranormal association because Catalina is like, why do they have a modern table in the middle of my Victorian living room?
For sure. I think she'd also be very irritated at like the little papers that describe. She's like, what are these index cards? But anyhow, yeah, well, that's something for me that I love to kind of dig and see what could actually be fact or fiction or lore. Also, too, it's separating between, is this a haunted location or is it, I mean, you have to think we have very, very, very old things in this house. So are they carrying crazy energy? Is it a combination of both?
Yes. That I like, there's so many possibilities. Let's start right here. Let's begin with the legend.
The one thing that I can tell you that a lot of people seem to have seen is the figure of a woman in our upstairs window.
Oh, yeah, you told me about
Yes.
that.
Yes. And that's kind of been one that more than one person who has been working here, maybe, a docent or a volunteer of some kind, has been outside in our courtyard. I know someone specific who told me this story. I've known them forever, and they told me this story way before I even volunteered here. And she's doing air quotes, a non-believer. But was kind of like freaked out by this story. But we rent out the park for parties. It's how we sustain ourselves. And the adobe is locked when we have those events in the park. No one's allowed. And she was here opening and closing the gates on that specific day. And she had locked the doors and was walking away. And for some reason decided to turn back. And when she looked up, she saw somebody in the window.
Oh, man.
So she thought maybe somebody had gotten in the house. And so she went back in. And what do you think she found? Nada.
The modern coffee table.
The modern coffee.
The modern coffee table. The girl was like, pick up this table.
Take it out now.
Take it out now. It's clashing. Oh, wow. So there was no one here. It was just her. It was just...
Most definitely.
Oh, wow.
Most definitely.
But she will still pan it out to the wind, right? That.
Oh, of
Since
course.
she is a skeptic.
Course. Yes,
I
she
think
is.
it was the wind.
She
the wind
is.
looked
And I
like
remember,
a woman.
I heard this story years and years and years ago. I've known her separately from the historical societies. She had told me this story. The other thing is people have seen a small child, not exactly saying whether female, male, just a child in the very close to where we are now in the costume room.
Yeah, like
there's
next door.
next door. There's a nursery,
Yeah.
but that nursery only came to be like maybe a year ago.
Oh, wow.
Before then, it was file cabinets in there. So it's not like, ooh, it's, a nursery and there's a ghost of a child and la 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 la. And so we're kind of working off that. No, at this time the story that I'm about to tell you, it was file cabinets. And one of our docents was here downstairs. And there was a man doing research upstairs in our research area. And so no one else was here. Everybody was leaving. It was kind of like the wrap up at the end of the day. And he comes downstairs and he tells her, "Oh, is that your grandchild upstairs?"
Oh, hell no.
And she was kind of confused and she was like, "No, what do you mean?" And he's like, the small child that was running around upstairs.
Right.
Is that your grandchild? And she said, "I'm here alone. There's no one with me." And so they both went back upstairs, and no small child, no grandchild.
Oh, man. Oh, my God.
But he said that he saw the child in what is now our nursery.
Did he describe what the child looked like? Or
He didn't, which I wish I would have gotten that description just because, And the only child I know who lived in this house, because the Picos did not have children while they were living in the house, but the Clarks, who moved in shortly after, in the 1890s, Emma Clark was a small child at the time. After that, the Harringtons moved in the 1830s. They did not have children. So that was the only family known of that had a child. So again, whether it's,
brought in by whatever
something
was
that,
donated
exactly.
here, then it probably has an attachment. That's a really, that's pretty interesting. I mean, I've had this discussion a lot with other investigators and even mediums that a lot of times it's like not just a home or a location that can be haunted, like say a haunted house. It could be a person, it could be a place, a thing too.
Sure.
So there could be attachments where, like, with individuals can have attachments. Objects can definitely have attachments, just like homes can have attachments too. So maybe it could be something that was attached to one of those items that carried the spirit, or maybe this energy of this little child.
Yeah, most definitely.
Oh, yeah. Now, you've had some personal experiences in here too.
Well, I had an experience not that long ago in that specific area, which is sort of the hallway that takes you to the nursery and the costume room that we're in now.
Yeah.
And there's, I was giving a guided tour, and there was a stack of posters, maps, all kinds of stuff like that, kind of leaning up against a wall. But the one that was in front of it was an actual framed with like the glass front. It was weighted. Mm-hmm. And as I walked by, it just kind of came flying at me.
Oh, no.
So I kind of just like picked it all up and played it off, and then kind of, you know, leaned it back to where it was.
Right.
Went about my business. As soon as the tour left, I was like, I need to go investigate. And I kept trying to reenact it, like stepping hard and that kind of stuff.
That's good. Please tell me you have some sort of a paranormal investigation kit here. You're like, I got my K2, my recorder, and my, you know, magnifying glass.
Yeah, I called Scooby in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could not find a logical explanation for why it, you know, decided to fly at me. And then, so the next tour comes about, and as we're walking into the bedroom, we have kind of like a little railing with a little gate, I think to keep the, you know, if we're doing a large tour, to keep the crowd out of the bedroom. And it has kind of like slots in between. And on the other side of it, I don't even know exactly what this object is, but they're like little metal balls, and they were sitting...
I saw them, yeah.
I don't even know what they were originally.
And they're not that heavy
No,
either.
and there's so many things in this house that you have to ask somebody else, like, what is this exactly? Because it's something you've never seen before, and it has, you know, probably a really good explanation, but yeah, I don't even know what these are for. But anyhow, it came, as we were walking in the room, it kind of came flying at me. But it kind of had to do like,
oh my God,
you know, make a right, make a left, make a left, make a right, and then go through.
The setup of it, because I saw it, guys, and I'm going to take a picture of it just to show you guys on Instagram how this thing went through a certain crevice, or like this. It's like this metal bar fence or railing.
And then there's like a quilt laying over it.
Yeah. It's
so it's
like
kind
it
of
had
like,
to snake its way.
Yes. Yes.
I think that's the best way I could describe it.
That's the best way. So it landed at my feet, and I was kind of like, huh? And the lady...
I could just like imagine what?
I was like, what? And so the lady I was giving a tour to kind of just looked at me, and I was like, oh. I'm like, you know, oh, we probably just stepped wrong. She was kind of like not buying it and left shortly after. And then after, you know, I went back and did the whole, like, if I step hard.
Yeah.
Because I just think this house is, like, all creaky. If you're downstairs and there's people upstairs, it's scary AF. I keep feeling like I'm going to get squashed. Like something, like, you know, it's so old.
Yes.
And,
I mean, even the doorways are pretty...
everything's creaky.
Petite and creaky, yeah. Definitely don't want to be in here during an earthquake, but then again, it has
it's been
withstood.
It's been retrofitted, so you're good.
Oh, good.
It sustained a lot of damage in the Northridge quake, and it was retrofitted. So
that's the real horror.
We're probably safer here than anywhere else.
Perfect. Awesome.
But yeah, so I kind of went and did my own little investigation with my, what did you say? My magnifying glass,
your voice recorder, and your
my
K2.
ruler. I had a ruler. A protractor.
It wasn't the wind. But that, like, when you told me that story, I was like, how does that happen? I'm perplexed by it because there's so many things blocking that little decorative item there. I'm just going to call it a decorative item. Like, I was like metal Victorian nunchucks or something. I don't know. But, I mean...
They almost look like you'd put, like, potpourri in them or something.
Yes.
You know those little things that you put in your closet? I know it's not that, but that's what exactly kind of looks like. It has like little holes in it. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll take a picture.
We'll take a picture, and you guys can tell us if anyone out there who's into like these types of, you know, items and things, they're Victorian relics, I guess, you know, can let us know what they are. It would be greatly appreciate it, especially for Maria's sake, because she's like, Victorian nunchucks, Victorian potpourri holders. Catalina's probably like, this is what they are. But yeah, that is a very interesting story. But also, I love the fact that when I came in here, you didn't tell me anything, like none of the history connected, or the haunted history connected to this house, which I personally like, because I just want to go in and feel.
Sure. And I remember telling you, like, you tell me.
Yes.
Because that's what I kind of like. And I did the same with Craig. Although he kind of gets the feels in one specific area. And I actually get the feels in this room. Like, in this closet gives me the feels hardcore. But he says he doesn't feel anything.
Craig, do you feel anything right now? No. He said no.
Feels kind of...
Feels pretty good in here.
Yeah,
I don't know. Probably it's because I'm in my own element. I love costumes and wardrobe and vintage clothes. I'm like looking at this lace detail right here. I'm trying like to focus, but I definitely felt fuzzy in that other room.
The bedroom
where you explained where that decorative item was placed. I felt very fuzzy there. And then of course I got a bit of a chill in the children's room. But here I felt pretty decent.
So the one story that kind of keeps really kind of recycling itself, and it's the one I kind of tend to believe the most, just because it's come from three completely separate people, walks of life, at completely different times in history. But Mark Harrington and his wife Indika in the 1830s, Mark was the curator for the Southwest Museum, and he came, and him and his wife lived in a tent for a while here, and they refurbished the entire house. And so he said when they were first able to... Oh, and let me preface that by saying that Indika was a really big believer of the paranormal. And there's actually a picture of her that we have standing in front of the adobe, and there's a form in the photo that she was said to have believed was a ghost.
Oh, we have to see that.
Yes.
I didn't see that last time I was here.
No, I don't think I showed it to you.
No.
I always search and go, like, where? Huh? So recently we came across Mark Harrington's diaries, and one of his diary entries said that the first night that they stayed upstairs in the bedroom, that they kept hearing footsteps.
Oh.
And the footsteps would stop once it got to the top of the stairs. And they would hear walking around downstairs. You know, the first time he was concerned, because for years and years and years, there's been rumors that that there's gold buried in them there hills. No, not really. Gold buried here somewhere. And so there'd be a lot of people who would come and try and, like, you know, in the middle of the night, scavenge and see if they can find gold.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he thought maybe it was somebody was coming onto the property, and he would find nothing. And this happened pretty much every night until he just basically stopped trying to pay attention to it, and then he just kind of stopped. And she was said to be terrified to, like, walk through the living room on her own at night.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. So that was the first time that I've heard that. And then just recently, a man came on a tour, and the adobe was used in the late 50s, early 60s-ish as a YMCA. And this gentleman who came on the tour said that when he was a young boy and he was in the Scouts, that he had stayed overnight here. The Scouts were going on a field trip early morning, and they had this whole thing where they got to stay here, and they were all upstairs trying to go to sleep, and they kept hearing footsteps downstairs.
Oh my God.
So it was the same story, and it really made an impact on him because he's retelling it, you know, some 50 years later. A few years ago, APRA came out and did a paranormal investigation, and you can listen to those online on YouTube. But it was the same thing. It was footsteps. It kind of sounded like men's boots on cement. So three completely separate occasions.
Right.
Totally not connected. Same story. That's what I tend to believe.
Right. In your gut, who do you think it is walking around?
You know, I don't know. I mean, I want to be all like it's, you know, Rumelo maybe, but why? I'm not exactly sure if he would have been that attached to this house. Why would he come back? I don't know. I don't know if Mark Harrington wore cowboy boots, but no, that wouldn't have been him because he's the one that felt it first. So yeah. I mean, I guess it would have to be Rumelo because he was the first resident of the home. If we're going to go with the theory that it was somebody haunting this house,
Right. And the woman in the window, who you think that might be?
Oh, I want to definitely think it's Catalina just for the sake of it's Catalina.
Now, Catalina was the child bride, right? You were showing me the pictures downstairs, and I was like, oh, is this a father-daughter? That's husband and wife. I was like,
Right. Right. And in the photo, below the photo, it says she was 16 and he was 30, but
she does not look 16.
No,
I did not look like that when I was
researching
16.
a little. There was also this whole thing whether her name was Katerina or her name was Catalina, because on different her birth certificate said one thing, her death certificate said another, and it gets kind of. But we've determined her name is Catalina, and she was actually 14 at the time they got married.
Ooh, and that was common. That was a common thing
most
back
definitely.
then.
Yeah.
Because I seriously thought it was father-daughter.
If you weren't married by the time you were 16, you were a spinster.
Yeah, but I mean, they were married for a very long time because there was like the picture of them when she was 14, and then there was another one.
Yeah, it's like she finally caught up.
Yeah,
you couldn't tell the age difference.
And you told me a very interesting story connected to that couple. Like someone, I guess, was doing an EVP session downstairs or in one of the rooms here, and they caught an EVP of a response because someone made a comment like, oh, like
I was explaining to there was a gal here, and she was really taken back by the age difference, and,
right.
So I was explaining the situation to her, and then it was being recorded, and then later on it came back and it said love is love.
In a man's voice, or was it a woman's voice?
It was a man's voice.
Oh wow. Mm-hmm.
So
that's intelligent right there. He's responding.
Super.
Yeah, that's probably him. He's like, love is love.
And then we heard her in the background, and she's like, get rid of the coffee table.
That's why people are hearing the boot still. Well, I've definitely had some of the feels. I haven't had any experiences yet, but I love to do like a private investigation here.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I love to bring a couple people in to do an event here or some sort of investigation just to kind of see what's around here. But I think it's a combination of things. I think it's because it's like who owned this house and its, history along with other pieces here. I mean, I'm looking at a World War II uniform that has to have some sort of energy attached to it, and I'm looking at 1920 cloches and this 1910 Victorian dress. I mean, there's so much here.
It's really crazy. Like I'll be locking up for the night, and I forget to turn off a light up here, and I literally do the thing where
run?
Where you run. And I'm like, it's all in my head. And then I just like run back down the stairs.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. I would do that too. This is, I mean, in relation to another location, Heritage Square. Are you familiar with that area? When I was shooting a feature film there, I was located on the second floor of one of the Victorian homes. It was the greenhouse that's right next to it's like this tall, like white Queen Anne Victorian, and I was told like, there's like some strange activity around the location. People said like, they've seen like a ghost of a little girl. There's a ghost of a woman on the second floor of the specific house, and the houses really didn't have any sort of history, no violent history, no signs of anything bad that happened in any of those houses. But what the location has and that parallels with this location is that it collects a lot of antique items.
Right.
I told like one of the docents, I'm like, I believe the reason why you have a lot of this activity is because you guys have vintage medicine bottles, vintage like medical bags. They have a museum, like a pharmacy museum all the way in the back, and then in a lot of these homes they have just a plethora of like Victorian and antique furniture. I mean, they even do like a reenactment of a morning in one of those rooms.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, Lord knows what
it stirs up.
Stirs up and conjures up. So yeah, like we said, it's like, is it a house? Is it an item? Or is it things that people just bring in? So who knows?
Right.
Paranormal is always inconclusive. So.
Oh, most definitely.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us for this little short episode on the Adobe Museum, guys. Definitely go check this place out. Where can they find out more information on this location?
You can follow the San Fernando Valley Historical Society on Facebook, or you can go to our website. And also stay tuned because we will be hosting ghost tours in the near future, so you yourself can come in and kind of see what you feel.
Yes. Oh my God, I want to be a part of that so bad. And where can people find Hollywood Exhumed?
Hollywood Exhumed on Instagram, on the gram,
and Facebook, right?
And on Facebook.
Yeah, guys, definitely follow Maria on there and take a little tour throughout history in California and Los Angeles for that matter.
See what I dig up.
Yes, there's a lot of cool things that you have on there.
Well, thank you.
Yes, a lot of cool things. Thank you so much, Maria.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. You look cute.
So do you.
Thank you.
Bye.
I know.
Love you.
Bye. Okay, wasn't that a crazy set of tales?
I love tales. I love the tradition of like ghost tales at Christmas. It's kind of like a lost art, but I'm still terrified. It's about balance.
It always is about balance. Like how much eggnog and water should you consume?
I actually don't love eggnog. It like upsets my stomach. I can do like one very tiny punch bowl glass, you know, like the little plastic ones.
Yeah.
That's like my limit.
What about the rum chadas?
I have to be careful with any dairy.
Yeah.
Alcohol-y. It just makes my stomach so upset.
Yeah, you'd be blowing out at both holes. Huh?
Yeah, girl. Yeah. Once you just switch to like straight vodka, it's hard to go back. He said alcoholically. Yikes.
I like my champagne.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it's only 90 calories per glass, girl.
Bubbles.
Yeah, a lot of bubbles. I want to be, digesting a lot of bubbles in New Orleans.
Oh, girl, I bet.
Yeah, we're going to see that big gumbo pot drop in New Year's.
Oh my God.
So in New Orleans, if you go to the French Quarter, in New York, they have that big, light ball that drops in the middle of Times Square. We have a big pot of gumbo that drops in the middle of Jackson Square.
That's amazing.
It's a big thing, yeah, because we have celebrities now, and it's all like televised and stuff, which is really, really, really cool.
I could use some gumbo, I feel. What has that light ball ever done for me?
Oh, yes. Porridge, gumbo, and some etouffee on a cold Christmas day.
Oh,
it's amazing. That's what my family does. We cook a lot. That's why I love going to New Orleans for Christmas. Speaking of New Orleans, guys, I'm going to try to coordinate an interview with Bloody Mary from the Haunted Museum as a little Christmas treat. She owes me an interview, considering the fact that my niece and I got locked in her haunted museum.
I know. Oh my God, that story is still so insane.
She owes me that, so I'm gonna try to make it happen, guys. And of course, Bryce will be scared from afar.
Yes, that's know your brand. It's fine.
Well, guys, we wanted to wish you a wonderful Merry Christmas.
Yes, I can't believe it's been a year.
It has been.
What a year!
This has been 2 years since our podcast
has
been up. Can't you believe that?
No, I can't. It's kind of crazy in some ways.
Yeah.
In some ways, it does feel like that, and in other ways, you're just like, "What? We just started." Like,
yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm just so fortunate for everyone that we met,
I know.
Everyone that we've spoken to. We're so thankful.
Yes.
To be in the presence of so many people.
I know, everyone's so nice and like supportive, and it's such a cool community.
I want to give a couple of thank yous real quickly before we see you guys in 2020.
Yes.
We want to give a big thanks to Rob and Christine Cohen.
I know.
They're the producers of Ghost Magnet with Bridget Moorcourt. And of course, Bridget Moorcourt,
I know.
She is so sweet. She
so
really
nice.
is. I'm so in awe of her and her podcast and what she's doing and talking with so many professionals and people in this community. And I'm so happy that she invited us onto her
so
podcast.
Sweet.
And then of course, Scott Michaels of Dearly Departed Tours and Museum.
Hi.
Such a sweet guy. As you guys have heard and probably read on Facebook, the museum will be closing, unfortunately. And I think it'll be open up until the end of February. I could be wrong. But yeah, after many, many years, he is closing the museum, but he will still continue the tour. So if you need to take a tour and do a Dearly Departed tour in and around the Hollywood area, he is still going to be doing those tours, of course.
Amazing.
So you better come over here and do them, guys. They're
Get
worth
on it.
And then, of course, Craig Owens of Bizarre Los Angeles. And last but not least, Maria Wessenaur of Hollywood Exhumed.
Oh, yes.
Thank you so much. And, of course, how could we forget Matt Lytle?
I know.
Of Ghost Loop.
Oh, my God. Wait, what's today? What's today?
It was the 21st.
Today's the 21st?
No, the 22nd, because I leave tomorrow, the 23rd.
So it came out
No, it's coming out in a week.
in a week. Okay, that's right.
Math.
Math is really hard. I'm on break. I don't have to do math.
I know.
Mom!
I'm not wearing a watch.
so
I'm not constantly
excited.
looking at my phone. Yes, but I have it on my phone. I have it set December 27th, guys.
Yes,
Tune in.
I can't wait.
And watch the new Travel Channel series, Ghost Loop, starring our friend Matt Lytle. We interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, so definitely go and check out episode 48 with our friend.
He just
Matt.
posted like the new trailer.
Yes.
And I got like so spooked.
And we're going to post it on our Instagram so you guys can watch
so
it.
Insane.
It's
the
really
one where
crazy.
she's like in the bed. She's like, what was it? I was like, I don't know. What was it?
Why are you in bed with
I
a ghost?
I got so scared. Like, oh no. It looks so good.
It does. We're so happy and excited for him and his team.
Yes.
So guys, make sure you tune in and support them. And I guess we'll guys see you in 2020.
See you in 2020.
Isn't
we
that
made
crazy?
it. It's
I know.
the future.
Well, Merry Christmas, guys,
Yes,
and have a
Merry-
creepy New Year.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Hollyweird Paranormal was made possible by our listeners and our patrons. Speaking about patrons, want to become a patron? Want to help produce an episode of Hollyweird Paranormal? Then head on over to our Patreon page, which is www.patreon.com/Hollyweird Paranormal. There, you can donate as little as $1 or more per month, or for 3 months, or for 6 months, or for as much as you want. And that dollar does help us go a long way with production, new equipment, and to fulfill our iced coffee habits. But you'll also be benefited with some awesome treats such as stickers, magnets, and even coasters with our logo on it. And not to mention, you'll be invited into our secret podcast society of Saturday Night Ghost Club. Saturday Night Ghost Club is a bi-weekly Patreon podcast made and delivered specifically and directly for our patrons. These are some Saturday night ghost stories that I've collected from off the streets from strangers, because everyone has a ghost tale that has seeped into the darkest places in our mind and has never let go. You can even preview Saturday Night Ghost Club episodes on wherever you get your podcast fix. Speaking of podcast fix, catch up with their past episodes on blueberry.net, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Deezer, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Castbox, Player FM, and even Spotify. Can't get enough of Hollyweird Paranormal? Then stalk us on Instagram and Facebook at Hollyweird Paranormal and on Twitter at HWP Podcast. Have a story that you're dying to share with Bryce? No pun intended. Then email us at hollyweirdparanormal@gmail.com for our Listener Tales episode, which we know that we're conjuring up one pretty soon, so we'll love to read and even share your stories with the rest of our listeners. If you love Hollyweird Paranormal, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give us a review on iTunes. It really helps us out a lot, and it helps us indie podcasters become a little more visible. Have a safe and wonderful Merry Christmas and a Hollyweird New Year. Till 2020, friends, always remember, stay Hollyweird.